And we're live, apparently, just triple checking everything. We've had massive audio issues, so hopefully this is 15 minutes of pain for me. The microphone's been fuzzy, so do holler if the microphone is fuzzy. I think I can hear a low fuzz now, but for me that's like fine, but I'll wait and see what it's like for what everyone else says. But also, it's better than the fuzz was. Like, the fuzz was bad. Like, bad. Like, really loud. I know, yeah. Normally just a disconnection, a reconnection works, but not today. 15 minutes of pain. Right, so we get on with the show, everybody. Again, hollow if the fuzz is bad, but for me, it's low. So I can hear it, but it doesn't mean it's that much of it. I'm drawing attention to it. How about, let's just move on. Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines NXT review. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and we are live here on YouTube and also available in podcast form. Links in the description, or head over to wrestlingheadlines.net for your latest wrestling news. NXT, a nice little bright spot with Kevin Owens on commentary to give it a different spice of life, and references back to NXT's past, obviously, which is nice with Finn Balor's return and reign as NXT champion. And it's War Games. Kevin Owens returned at last War Games, and he made sure to just remind us all of that. But on this episode of NXT, we had heel turns, we had returns, and we had War Games stuff. I'm trying to think, how do I limit that down to kind of squish it down to what happened? But yeah, lots of matches set up for War Games. So quite a bit to get through, but also it's a lot to get through, but not a lot in terms of depth. As if I can just go, this was set up, on to the next thing type stuff. Like, I've only got 1,500 words, and that's like 1,000 words less than normal. Just as a nice little sign. But also, audio issues took so long, I'm going to take a victory sip out of my New Day mug. Oh, lovely. Right, let's get on with it. Hopefully that's not set the microphone up to be super fuzzy. It sounds fine to me now. Audio sounds fine. It sounds like crystal clear. Good God, the pay. Seriously, it's like I was recording from the moon in the 1960s. Just fuzz. It's constantly. So anyway, so Candice LeRae with Indy Hartwell versus Ember Moon opened up the show, and Ember Moon with a string of these damn great openers. Like, to be fair, with a division as strong as NXT Women's division right now, like, is it even possible for any pairing to be bad? Like, I swear, I'm writing this stuff, like phrase and sentences like this, like, every single week right now. Like, even when an episode isn't amazing per se, the women's division stands out. Moon and LeRae with yet another bloody solid telematch. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez reacting from ringside as both lasses take their turns. In the end, Ember bested Candice, making sure she was down with a series of suplexes and climbing to the top for the Eclipse. But Kai Gonzalez jumps onto the apron, enough of a distraction for Indy Hartwell to run in and push her mentor out of the way, taking the Eclipse bullet for the team, which she sold fantastically later with a neck brace, and Candice LeRae like gingerly walking her to the car as Johnny Gargano brings the car around the front. Just, attention to detail. I say attention to detail, there's one little gripe, where on commentary they had Beth Phoenix like, I don't really know what the relationship is quite now, maybe it's a bit of manipulation from Candice, and I was like, wait, but the way that the ghost thing played out in the first place, they didn't know, and Candice delivered the TV to their house to get their attention. So suddenly, oh well, if this ends up somewhere else, I'm a little bit sad, because normally NXT is great with this stuff, and from the starting point to the near the end point, it all links together, it's all nice and good, but if it is manipulation, and they're pushing Candice that way, that means what started there wasn't a solid plan, and that's not very NXT. That's main roster, and that's my worry of those little things dripping in. We've got a few other main roster ticks as well, and it's happened before in NXT, but it's because it's happened with pairings of other things where I'm like, that's a main roster trope, but I don't like that. So they've sprinkled in a bit. So maybe it's just trying to make it exciting for TV. They fall back into their tropes by accident. I'll get to them when I get to them. But this opening match was fantastic. I skipped over some of the main action in it, but the match itself was really, really solid, as you would expect from Ember Moon and Candice LeRae. And the ending was all about setting up War Games. As afterwards, with Kai Gonzalez, Indy Hartwell, and Candice LeRae, a 4-woman beatdown ensued on Ember Moon. Ember escaped to the ramp when a friend made her way down for the aid. It was Toni Storm, amping up her girl to run at them together. Charging to the ring, and Toni dragged Ember back out to deliver a forearm to the face, Toni Storm turns heel as the final member of the baddie team for War Games. And it was it was set up later in the show. Got a promo with all of the girls there, and was like, "Do you want to be a Survivor Series? Survivor Series. So many teams to do with that this week. Do you want to be a War Games team? Want to be a War Games team? Yeah, let's be a War Games team. Yeah, we're a War Games team. Yeah, War Games." So yeah, I think I pretty much nailed the repetition of that segment. But yes, War Games are all set up, and of course they'll be taking on Team... I don't know if it's going to be Team Blackheart, I'm assuming so. They targeted Ripley later in the show, and they got a promo from Shotzi repairing her tank after being targeted by Candice, and also they beat up Ember Moon here. That's 3 of the 4 members officially confirmed. I swear to God, I'm forgetting the 4th, and I feel like we've already seen them either beat them down or that person be like prevalent and about, but I'm just drawing a complete blank. Like, personally... Would it be the end of the world if it was Mercedes Martinez returning? Unless it's just blatant. I've just completely forgotten who it is. That's what I'll see later. But yeah, so that was War Games Part 1. I'll go to the other side of War Games. So that's what's being set up on the women. On the men's side, we got Undisputed Era returning, and we got the main event match to determine which team would have the advantage at War Games. It's always the heel team. However... the twist is, Undisputed Era were always that team. Now they're the babyfaces, so even though it's like, oh, the heels always won, but that meant Undisputed Era always won, and you could play off of that. Because now Undisputed Era, the faces, their time to lose. So technically, in kayfabe, Undisputed Era were the ones that always won and got the advantage, and this year they don't. So the ties are turned on them, even though it's 100% stuck with the heels getting the advantage. You always get it every year. There's like an exciting match to build up to it, and the main event rocks. When I get to it, I'll just talk on that. But the Undisputed Era's first promo since returning as 100% babyfaces. And remember, the very first week there was an inkling of something. I did the video. I sent it to James Boyd of One Nation Radio, and he was certain that you're just making crap up. Don't read too much into it. It's WWE still. Don't forget. I was right. I've already. To be fair, I had that about 3 months ago, so no, I can't really rub it in anymore. But anyway, Pat McAfee. Why can't I say Pat? Pat McAfee and his merry men are in for a fight with a different Undisputed Era. This time, it's nothing to do with championships or glory. This time, they're fighting to drag the 4 of Pat's group through absolute hell. Yeah, and then the babyface this time. Again, it's still the same technically dynamic, but because it's Undisputed Era, it's different for them. So, yeah. Pete Dunne is set to face someone later in the show to determine which group has the entrance order advantage for War Games. But who? It's Kyle O'Riley. But he's angry, so it's angry Kyle O'Riley. And he does the mean, like, I'm angry. He did it more serious than that, but that was essentially the point of the promo here. Undisputed Era return. We're showing them as these are like 100% the cool babyface group now. And you got Kyle O'Reilly going in the main event as well. Do we get a massive turn at the pay-per-view? Or what, TakeOver? I won't call it pay-per-view. Do we get a massive turn at TakeOver? I don't know. It wouldn't be a bad way to do it, but I also wouldn't have Undisputed Era split. So I don't know if the group's going to go to the main roster and be a deal there, or if they just want one of them, or what. There's back and forth whether factions would be welcomed, like arriving as a faction rather than being set up as a faction on Raw or SmackDown, and you see them grow like the Hurt Business, for example, or if they're a little bit... there's a reason I'm not saying Retribution. They like the Hurt Business, or they find for them to arrive and cause hell. The only time they did was when it was Triple H controlling the ship on the SmackDown, and they gave a really big push to Undisputed Era. Anyway. Yeah. I've said it before, Undisputed Era, I'm fine for them to move on, like to the main roster. Like, whenever they're ready. just whenever you're ready, guys. Anyway, Thatcher's students were all watching the teddy box in wait of the next upcoming matchup. It was Timothy Thatcher versus Kushida. Ciampa wandering out with a chair and placing his keister at the bottom of the ramp for a wee front row seat to the action. The two lads in the ring with a technical clinic for the man, rolling through, countering in a contest of submissions. A nice little showcase for both. But eventually, Ciampa became the deciding factor after a legit mistake from Thatcher. At ringside, the teacher was way too focused on the former NXT champion and uppercut the ring post. The distraction was there, but it was Thatcher making his mistakes more than anything. Ciampa only really reacting to anything like right at the end. Thatcher fought out of Kushida's striking grasp for 1 second, and that's when Ciampa stood right up and threw the chair down with a bang, drawing Thatcher's attention and creating a slip of focus for Kushida to slip back in and wrench back the arm. This time there was no escape for Thatcher, and he tapped out. And the commentary really putting that over as that's quite a big deal. Like, Kushida made Thatcher tap out. Tapping out in the ring whilst Kushida was on the ramp telling the camera, maybe he has a problem with me now. And up he goes. He wasn't really angry or aggressive with it. It's like, yeah, I'm in control here. And that's interesting because the dynamic of those two, where Thatcher, he is the one who asserts control on his matches, and he's teaching all of his students, like, this is how you assert your control, and then he's, whenever they fight back, he's aggressively taking it. But Ciampa is so much... I think the story is like Ciampa is so much higher in terms of a quality competitor that he can be really calm around Thatcher. It's like, no, I'm the one in control. And just to see Thatcher possibly elevate kind of past his normal calmness, I'm quite interested. Setting up, when they set up that kind of match, I was like, this is setting up really nicely to see Thatcher jump higher than he has done in NXT to be the underdog against somebody like Ciampa, and for also to Ciampa to get quite a strong kind of performance as well. Because Thatcher's a strong character, if not like a strong booked guy, if that makes any sense. As in, he's not in NXT Championship matches, but he has an authority of control about him, where he could slip into a title match at any point. So coming up against Ciampa, where he would lose that control, yeah, all up for it, all up for that. It's being built nicely. Dunne, after this match, gave his thoughts on tonight. Tonight, he'll break their spirit. At War Games, they'll finish the job, because they're villains, and villains talk like this. They're baddies. We'll do an angry look. Dip in a cup of tea and definitely don't spill a bit on myself. Just ignore me wiping my face. Kevin Owens show in NXT. That was nice. Also, you can kind of see why I was saying there's lots of little segments, but there's not a lot to them. So my complaint last week was it felt a bit Raw-like, where there were quite a number of segments and they went on for just enough amount of time to try and be significant themselves, but also still feel a bit like filler in a way. Whilst this week, no, there's it's just like one note. The note's delivered perfectly fine, and it clearly builds to something, and you're on to the next thing. So again, a lot of little segments, but they blew by pretty quickly, and then you get your more substantial stuff later. But Kevin Owens show. So this has obviously got a bit of comedy in it, so it's going to be subjective, entirely subjective, and I was fine with it, even though like some of it I thought it's a little bit awkward with the timing. However, it clearly leads to the next bit, so the bit afterwards doesn't make me laugh if the bit I found a bit awkward doesn't happen. That's happened before. I've talked to, again, outside of this wrestling bubble, stand-up comedy's been a world invented. But yeah, talked to some comedians where it's just like, this bit at the end of my set is hilarious. Unfortunately, in order to get there, I have to do this shit bit that no one laughs at. So it's all about trying to figure out how to get to the amazing bit whilst... But of course they hone that act over like months and months going around the circuit. So, and by the time I've seen them on the telly or at the big shows or whatever, that is rehearsed to a T. They don't get this chance with NXT because after this, they don't get rehearsal after rehearsal for this. It's written, it's performed, done. Obviously, they do a practice, but yeah. The humour's going to fall off every now and then. It's not going to be exact. It's not going to hit all the time, and that's what this felt like. It felt like to get to the good bit, you had to go through the shit bit, and again, that happens to. It's just a part of the comedy process, I guess. Anyway, sometimes it happens, unless you're an amazing writer. Which we already know with WWE. It's wrestling. The great comedy writers aren't in wrestling. I think it's fair to say. Anyway, Kevin Owens brought out Leon Ruff for the Kevin Owens show, the new champion, to give him a mic piece. KO gave Leon the floor for his story. How does it feel? How does it feel like? That's not good English. How does it feel to be the North American champion, kid? Leon, in his giddy celebration, he's jumping up and down a bit. He seems to try. It's like he's trying. One thing I kind of like is he's trying to hold himself and be serious, but he gets excited and he comes across as a bit naive in that way, as in he's trying to be one of them but he's clearly, still giddy. He's like, just calm down, be alright. And that's why the character kind of works. Again, he's so new that he's building his character every single week. Of course, the big question is, will he exist after Gargano and Priest are having their arc? I would like him to. It's building relatively nicely. They're giving him some character here. But in his giddy celebration, Leon says Gargano's name, and KO just sighs at the naivety of doing that. Like, come on. Like, you say someone's name, they always show up. Like, look, his music is going to hit any second. 3, 2, 1... Gargano's music hits. There you go. Apologies to podcast listeners, where hopefully you can hear my arm moving. And you don't think that the thing stopped. I might have screwed some people over there. If I get some messages about it, I'll know that was a bit evil. Anyway, Gargano's music eventually hits. Timing felt off and awkward, but it set up the rest of the segment nicely. Because, of course, Kevin Owens is like, it is a bit different to the main roster. Because Kevin Owens is from the main roster where the timing is so predictable you could count down to the beat when it's going to happen. It's like a mini little piss take to how predictable these segments have become, where you can beat for beat go, this is when, it's going to happen. But Damian Priest is next after Gargano is running his mouth on Leon Ruff. He says Priest's name, and Kevin Owens is organising chairs. He got a chair for Gargano, just chucked it out of the ring. I don't want chairs. He gets a second. Kevin Owens just immediately goes and gets a second chair. Gargano's like, I said I didn't want a chair. It's like, it's not for you. I've got a hunch. And that's when Gargano mentions Martinez, mentions Priest's name, and is like, KO again. It's like, come on, he can't keep saying people's names. Out comes Damian Priest, himself running lyric. And of course, you know what's building next to, where Leon Ruff laid down the challenge to Regal. I thought that was enough to confirm it, but this was like a proper confirmation for it, where the three of them are arguing, and Kevin Owens is just like, if this was on the main roster, Tony Long would just come on down and make this triple threat. But it's a shame NXT doesn't have somebody like that. Wink. That can't be where this segment is going. And it held off long enough where nothing did happen. And then Regal's music hits. And again, the final joke hit for me. It's like the opposite of an SNL skit, where it was a bit over the course of it, but then the final note really hit. And you can't say that about most SNL skits, but the final note really hit. And so Regal comes out, makes it a triple threat. I think he said for War Games, and everyone's like, and applauding. And at the end of it, he just said it'll be a triple threat at War Games, player. And walks up the ramp. I loved it. Yes, yeah, a nice little promo by the end of it. Again, the timing was WWE awkward with some of the comedy bits, but also the main point with Vinny Regal at the end, got a great laugh out of me. That was timed perfectly, and it built to something. It was an actual skit that built to something. How un-WWE is that? That's great. Another sip of the tea. Ooh. Again, it's because I had 15 minutes of pain, and of course, the week of a WWE. I don't know if my American listeners will totally be aware of the pain. Well, if you're a New Japan fan, you definitely are. But the week of a pay-per-view, you can hear it in my voice. It goes. It grinds you down slowly over time, and by Thursday, I need to be drinking water and tea pretty consistently. So, I mean, playing Among Us probably doesn't help, but still, Anyway, Finn Balor is back to working Wednesdays, and Shotzi's back in the garage working on her tank. We've got two little VTRs about them. Finn Balor with his, sitting on his chair with his hands, and it's I'm going to cut a promo, but I'm not going to do it in this accent, because if Matt does an Irish accent, it's just offensive Irish. Leprechaun, if you will. But then Shotzi Blackheart gets a really high quality made video package as well, while her working on her tank in the garage. I thought it looked really cool, it was great. And this is what I applaud AEW for, is doing a kind of promo which shows off their character, and it builds to something either next week, or it's I'm going to do this thing. It's you're telling the audience, I will do this. It's just not next week, because they're clearly not in the arena. For me, that works really well. Again, applaud AEW for it. NXT are doing the exact same thing, and the fact it was such high quality as well. So, this is great. Main roster, just take a look at this. I mean, main roster does good sometimes. Bianca Belair videos, those videos were great. I want to say something recent. Oh, Carmella. Carmella just didn't hit, but that's more about the gimmick, really. Like the presentation fit the gimmick. If any package is something they're normally good at. Cameron Grimes versus Jake Atlas. I don't often find NXT matches pretty nothing. But that's kind of what this was for me. A pretty nothing little win for Grimes. Like Atlas got in his strikes, but the writing was on the wall after only Grimes got an entrance for a non-announced match. Because of course, quite often in NXT, maybe because they're short for time in the TV era or whatever, but you'll get a match like Dakota Kai. Like I swear, last 2 matches she's not had an entrance. She's just been there in the ring, but it was announced beforehand, so you don't expect there to be a job or anything. Here, unannounced, Grimes comes out. Oh, and Jake Atlas happens to be in the ring. So okay, we know this setup. And the running crossbody backflip thing, I need to learn the name of that. I've been watching him since like PWG. I still don't know the name of the running crossbody backflip thing. Anyway, then into the double stomp, whatever he calls that as well, for the win. I need to learn Grimes' moves. Grimes showing he can go in the ring before the comedy stuff kicks back in. Dexter, again, it gave him a place to be for Dexter Loomis to show up as well to do this next bit. Dexter Loomis turning up to spook him, and he points to the Titantron for a wee comical recap, like his cartoon drawing in tow. Just a recap of the horror stuff as well, and Cameron Grimes running away scared. It was like, see Grimes run, see Grimes do this, see Grimes do that, and then the cartoon version pop up as well. And that is when Dexter Loomis pulls out the strap, the leather strap. I gotta quantify that immediately. The leather strap, drapes it over the top rope, and Grimes mimes to picking it up, and then just chucks it away at him. And it's like, no, I'm not going to accept that. No. But immediately know where that's going, and I'm quite happy when I woke up this morning. I didn't see any. There probably were people, but I didn't see. Maybe again, it's just me. Maybe I've kept my Twitter nice and clean. I've cleaned it up nicely, maybe. But I didn't see anybody going, oh, it's because AEW just did that NXT copying, lols. Like, I didn't see anybody writing like that. So, yeah, that's a good thing. It's like, yeah, they can do that. It's fine. It's clearly not going to be anything like it's in such a different context and the kind of performers and the kind of match it's going to be. Like, I would never compare the two. It's just so ridiculously different. So yes, it is a leather strap match, but could they be any more opposite? So yeah. So yes. Anyway, Dexter Loomis versus Cameron Grimes. I think it was at War Games as well. I don't care about this really. I don't know if it is Dexter Loomis. But I kind of like Grimes, but as a certain level performer, and with Dexter Loomis, I've just not clicked, really, in a way. I feel like Dexter Loomis gives me a little bit of Elias vibes, where he could do really well on the main roster, but in NXT, it's just not quite a gel that fits, or sticks, because gel sticks more than fits, but yeah. Anyway, after the break, Grimes bumps into Regal, who just books the match for War Games. Cameron in protest, like, why do you hate me so much, Mr. Regal? I think it's your personality. And he's off he goes. Yes, another. Regal had a great comedy night tonight. It's just normally he's just out there. Last week he's out there going War Games, and then this week he's got 2 comedy bits. So, yeah, Cameron Grimes put down. I do like the dynamic between Grimes and Regal. They've done that really well. Anyway, Rhea Ripley. She comes out for a wee promo for her future for NXT. She says she isn't going anywhere and tries to build up some of that promo hype bar when Candice LeRae cuts her off, joined by Toni Storm for our little lead to a certain War Games match. Where are Kai and Gonzalez? Why? Waiting for their cue to carry out an out-cold Io Shirai, of course. Knew it. I knew I'd remember the 4th person. Is it just going to be Io Shirai? Or is this her taking out a War Games? I'd assume not. Io Shirai works as the 4th person. But if Io is out and they're going with that, then Mercedes Martinez. That'll be the one. But it's got history with Ripley, but I feel like it'd be a dynamic that would work. I can't think of anyone else really. If it's not Io, because she's taken out, or it is Io because they took her out. But if it's not Io, Mercedes. Anyway, we'll see where it goes. I'm just assuming Io. Mercedes is AFK. It has been for ages. MIA, sorry, to give it to the non-gamer people. Anyway, Ripley ready to take them all on, but that may not have been wise. Like, a nice try, but the numbers caught up with the Aussie as she was launched into the ring post inside the ring multiple times by Gonzalez. Candice's crew with a clear message for War Games. And assumably we have our team. Is it EO or is it Mercedes? I'm only saying Mercedes because she's been missing since Retribution stuff. And she's like such a solid performer to just disappear. It's like, yeah, just put her in War Games. Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, I'll be down for that. Yeah, like her and Ripley have a competitive past. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Oh, it's EO, and I'm reading into nothing. So like, there's been no hint of Mercedes. I'm just saying. I like surprises. Give him surprises. Last year the men got the surprise entrant. Just swap them round. Last year the men got the surprise entrant, and the women got the heel turn with Dakota Kai. That's not been a year yet since that happened. 2020. But also, if you just swap it round, so the women get the surprise entrant and the men get the heel turn. I've already said don't do a heel turn, but still. Anyway, after this we got a bit like finally I can applaud. So for weeks I've been saying, because I did get a question of what did I think of Xylee and Bo a couple of weeks ago. I forgot to mention it, and therefore I've forgotten who bloody sent it. But this is for you. So I have been holding off my opinion on Xylee and Bo's stuff, just because it's clearly building to something, and we've got nothing to really base it off. So whenever I brought it up on this show, I was just like, well, I don't know how people would review this and like give it a, well, I think it's this crap, or I think it's this good. Like, you've not been given anything. It's still building to something. So for me, it's like it was still neutral, just in that area, not moving anywhere. It's like, well, you're clearly building to something, but it's so unclear what. Like when that thing happens, then yeah, and it wasn't show interfering either. It's just like a side little thing that was slowly building in the background. It's not like Retribution. Retribution was front and centre, a major part, and it seemed to be like a massive angle or storyline with them destroying the ring ropes or what have you. And so therefore, when you don't know what's going on, but it's front and centre, then you can give opinion. For me, that they've made it so front and centre, you got to you take stock in it, but it's in the background. So I was neutral with it. This week, a massive up. I thought this was great. Between this and the Shotzi Blackheart, like, there were VTRs of such high production quality this week. I don't know if it kicked something up this week to maybe try and be super competitive and just really up that quality, or the other part of it is, of course, NXT is the testing ground for a lot of stuff. Is this what the main roster VTRs on Backstage are eventually going to look like? It's quite movie-like. Anyway, Xylee and Bo with a pre-taped bit, both looking rough. Neither of them with their telly makeup on, and in their sweatpants and half like they hadn't slept. Driven to a garage place before the old man from last week or a couple of weeks ago marks them both in front of a hooded lass. So, the segment ending with a flash of her covered face, whoever she may be. Asian. I can't tell you any more. It could be anybody. I don't know. If WWE signed someone, I'm trying to think who it could be. I can't even remember who they've signed, and I want to say it was a Japanese star though, and this is clearly like a Chinese story because Bo and Xylee Chinese. They're the only two Chinese competitive in NXT. So I'm assuming this third person's also Chinese. I don't know. Anyway, I really liked the production of this, and I was like, finally, this is going somewhere, and we're seeing it lead to an extra thing other than awkward. What's this? Oh, wow, that bad. And off they go. Like, last week got my interest a little bit. Just the way that they were doing it felt a little bit different, and this was like, oh no, this is like different. Getting close to Lucha Underground, like, yeah, yes, I feel like I like where this is heading. I was really worried it was a Yakuza type thing, but now it's like, oh no, this is something. We'll see where this goes. So yeah. But yeah, there's no better way to sum it up than the old man marked them in front of a hooded lass. Like, what else am I meant to say? Anyway, Everrise in the ring, no matter what they do, they'll still be jobbers. And no match ever happened though, as the Grizzled Young Veterans returned, and I put them in the thumbnail. NXT UK dominating NXT this week. Get in there, lads. Soon to be recognised as NXT's number one. All smart and dapper from Liverpool. I shouldn't have done that. All smart and dapper in their suits, beating the lads up before putting their jackets back on. Yes, very, very good. Awesome to see these guys return. The tag division has needed a boost of something, and these guys are so incredibly solid that for me, they're one of the best tag teams in the world. And for NXT to have them, it's got something to it again, because the tag division was a bit light, and Grizzled Young Veterans to give it so much depth. It's like a massive thumbs up for that. Anyway, Candice LeRae. This was the bit after that was when Candice and Johnny were escorting a neck brace wearing in the after the eclipse onto Johnny's, taking her to Johnny's car. The three driving off, but a wee little moment as there's a second ghost face in the car. Who'd that be? And commentary noting it to like 100%, like make sure that we all picked up on it. It's like, oh my god, there's a second person in that car. There's two of them. It's like, oh wow, there's two of them. And Kevin Owens kind of took the piss out of him. It's like, yeah, probably keep an eye on that. Yeah. It's just, I mean, his reaction really made me laugh. Like, he's really trying to say it. It's like, oh my god. It's like, oh yeah. And Kevin Owens just like, yeah. I mean, you should probably, yeah. I mean, yeah. You should be keeping your eye on that sort of thing. It was almost like he didn't know what was going on, but he did. Anyway, that made me laugh. Yeah. Who is it? I don't know. Anyway, decent. Interesting to see what happens. Is Johnny going to directly win the North American Championship back because of Ghostface number 4? And I even hit last week on the show where I was just laying the point just that, oh yeah, with Halloween Havoc, there was somebody who came out and pushed over Damian Priest, and then it was Indy Hartwell, as we found out, for Candice LeRae's match, but it looked like a different person in Johnny Gargano's. So either they were just like, we'll have somebody else do it, so that it throws it up in the air who it could possibly be, or they each have one. So yeah, Ghostface buddies. Anyway, all I would say is, I'm trying to think who it could be, because who's been off? Bronson Reed's been off TV. And he's also Australian. Is that enough? Are they both going to be Australians? Is it Gargano and Candice taking in the Aussies and looking after them? Or are they just like really kind to the international talent coming over? It's like, no, we'll look after you. Yeah, it's nothing. They're not baddies. Anyway, the main event was the ladder match between Roderick Strong, between Kyle O'Riley and Pete Dunne, where the winner's team gets the War Games advantage. Both teams beforehand were chatting crap from the elevated platforms to the right of the ring opposite the entrance. A high view of this slugger of a ladder match. A fast, violent contest from the start. Both laying in stiff shots and launching each other all over ringside. I will just say we had what was pretty much a TLC match just 2 weeks ago at Halloween Havoc. Or was it 3 weeks ago? I can't remember. It must be 3 weeks ago. So this had a tad of my current main roster gripe of running too much of the similar in a short space of time. But flipping hell, this match, it was like first flipping hell, Pete Dunne shoving the ladder with no regard for spinning Kyle O'Riley. Like, it was almost as if the ladder dragon screwed him. Like, poor man. Like, Jesus, Pete. No fear. He got retribution later when he actually dragon screwed the Birmingham man. Take that, Peter. Well, what's soon to come was something that led to the slightly bigger spot, a big old mighty suplex off the apron and through a ladder. It's like, oh, good God, again. They really went at each other. And they were brawling all over ringside before either of those spots as well, so they really threw it at each other. I mean, bloody hell, these guys gave us one hell of a painful looking ladder match. Like, don't forget, we've got to actually be able to wrestle at War Games, guys. Incredible. O'Reilly wore down Dunne's leg. Enduring the ladder probably didn't help. Another great spot with the two in a tug of war on either side of the ladder, just pulling, and they go, my face. Just pulling it back and forth. Ending in Dunne pushing the ladder at Kyle, who just caught it and pushed it back right into the Brit's face. After that, we got a war atop the ladder, Dunne winning out, but maybe to a massive detriment, as Kyle O'Reilly tipped the ladder over and he went crashing down hard onto a corner-propped ladder. That was it for Dunne, as Kyle climbed up and a masked fella ran down to tip over the ladder, who looked blatantly like Pat McAfee, doing the cross chops and everything, and it was never confirmed. It went off air with Pete Dunne's music playing. That was a very Pat McAfee looking man, because earlier in the show, I've purposely not mentioned this, earlier in the show they played a video package of Pat McAfee all celebrating, all be like, we're gonna win this match, it's gonna be awesome at War Games, and I'm not gonna be there because it's Thanksgiving. and he just believed him. He was very, very smart, and he just... I am just checking my audio. I thought it sounded a little bit weird there. I think we're fine. But yeah, so with Pat McAfee earlier, just got that... he said, like, yeah, he's an outside person, therefore it makes sense that he won't show up at the odd week. And he used that against us. So, again, playing the expectations of what was to be expected of an outside kind of person in WWE, using it to his advantage. Oh, it's great stuff again from the McAfee and the gang. It's getting the job done. Bob the Builder. Anyway, yeah, so that was it. That was it for Dunne. Not Dunne, sorry, that was it for Kyle. The Undisputed Era man spinning to the outside and spinning over the top rope hard again. Kyle O'Riley, like, that man just does not fall off a ladder soundly. The Bruiserweight climbed the ladder and our heels have the advantage at War Games. Boo the baddies, but in the best way possible. Because it was a great match. And it sets it up nicely for War Games. Anyway, that's the end of the show. Yeah, so again, really able to blast through this NXT review pretty quickly. There was if it was like bullet point stuff setting up the next chapters, and we had a hell of a ladder match at the end of the show. Again, if you're somebody who picks the best matches from NXT or AEW, go with the ladder match. It was brutal. It was a fantastic example of like a NXT main event ladder match. Both men brought the physicality. Like, they threw themselves at it as well. It was kind of match where you watch it go, you're trying to qualify for War Games. It's going to be anything left. So, yeah. Massive props. It was a solid episode of NXT. I saw like some really positive kind of receptions to it. I thought it was fine and it built things up nicely. It's weird, I had a lot of positives from it, but it was, again, a similar feeling to the previous NXTs where it's like placing building blocks and it's nothing, for me, absolutely exceptional, but it's all solid. So, again, like, if I called this 3 stars out of 5, I in no way mean it would be the same as a 3-star Raw or SmackDown show. Like, for me, this is like it's just like a whole upper echelon. So I guess like if I rate Raw and SmackDown 1 to 5, then NXT and AEW are 5 to 6 somewhere. So this would be an 8, I guess. Yeah, a really solid show. But for me, the main event was awesome, and you got your surprise heel turn with Toni Storm. Again, lots of great moments, and it just solidly built to the next thing. So that's my review. Lots of little great moments that built to the thing, and the main event was fantastic with the ladder match. Can't commend it anymore. Really strong. And I've not watched NXT. No, I've watched NXT. I've not. What a thing to drop at the end of this video. I've not watched AEW, so I don't know what happens over there. I see it all on Twitter because I've got to go on Twitter to promote and do stuff. But with AEW, I don't know what happens. The only thing I've seen is the awesome spot with Kenny Omega standing at the lights for his entrance, and then you see the shadow of Jon Moxley, and he does his head crank so you know it's him, and just tackles him through the screen. It's like, it's an amazing spot. That's all I've seen. So, yeah. Yeah, anyway, that's the end of the NXT review. So I will be back on Tuesday. Oh my word, I've got a break. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I've got a break. So I'll be back on after when the Survivor Series on AEW pay-per-view. Oh, you feel it. You bloody feel it. Takeover War Games must be arriving soon, so I must hit up Jay Cool, the currently former NXT Cool Points writer at Wrestling Headlines, so try and get him back in at least to talk about War Games whenever that airs. I've not been paying enough attention to know when the takeover actually happens. So anyway, I'll be back on Tuesday for the Monday Night Raw review at midnight. For me, it's midnight Wednesday, as in night time for Tuesday. It's confusing. Try to say it like that. But with, I don't know why I'm babbling on about this. Anyway, please do check out the other videos here on the YouTubes and here on the podcast thing for Laws of Pain / Wrestling Headlines. Amazing plug. You can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. That's damn as in damn. You can. I've been light on the columns because what the lockdown world, what that's done to me, I just don't have the time to really hit it. But I really want to drop some end of year stuff, or at least participate in end of year stuff. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm going to go to bed. So see you on Tuesday for the Raw review. And what do you make of NXT? Like, subscribe, hit the belly thing if you really want to make sure you know when I'm going live. Also, you can go to what's it bloody called? pod Red Circle. You get to Red Circle, and that's where you can find the audio versions of this. I immediately, as I've done here, I go to Audacity, I edit it, I get it ready, and it goes up. So it's up within the hour, or maybe even half hour if I'm quick enough. So yes, you can go check that stuff. And with that, I bid you adieu. Adios.